This world is cruel to autistic people, and it's about time that this world is held responsible and they are taking the accountability for what they do to autistic people. The autistic person is the one that is within the group that is ostracized, that is pushed aside, the one that has to walk behind everybody when there's not enough space for the sidewalk to walk, the one that people are like to shun and shoo away, and it's like people feel ashamed to be cool with this person, or they feel embarrassed to be friends with this person or to be seen with that person. The human being that you treat as less than human, that's the autistic person in the group. The autistic person is the one that gets taken advantage of, the one that is the punching bag for everyone, the one that is the doormat that people walk all over, the one that people use as an emotional dumping ground to just dump all of their emotional baggage onto you. And then they want to act like you are not allowed to stand up for yourself, because the whole social hierarchy is that the bottom of the totem pole is supposed to take all of the trash, but the trash is supposed to stay there. The trash is not supposed to get up and say, fuck this shit, I'm not dealing with this anymore. Because people know exactly what they're doing when they mistreat an autistic person, but they think that because the autistic person doesn't stand up and defend themselves, or they are not catching on to what's really happening, they feel like they're getting away with it in the present moment. And although they may be getting away with it in the present, later on, that autistic person is going to reprocess everything that has happened, and they're going to see it exactly for what it is. The autistic person is the one that has to be the sacrificial lamb, that if someone has to go, then it's the autistic person. They got to go. Everybody else can stay, but the autistic person has to leave, as if the autistic person being there is going to create so much of a disturbance that it's going to just crumble everything, when really the autistic person's presence is not a threat to anyone. And the worst thing about it is, after a person bullies an autistic person and takes advantage of them, when that autistic person exposes them or speaks their truth or talks about the mistreatment that they just endured, then the bully, the abuser, the attacker wants to deflect. They want to gaslight. They want to pretend that they didn't do anything wrong when they know they did. And even worse, bystanders and witnesses around will sit there and come into agreement with the bully and say, oh, the bully didn't do anything wrong. No, it's really the autistic person is the problem. And because the bully is backed up by their bystanders, that's exactly why they continue to get away with what they have done. But it's ridiculous, because now the autistic person was suffering at the hands of their abuser. And even when they seeked out help, they're not believed, because people continue to lie on them, because they would rather pretend that they did not hurt the autistic person than take accountability for actually hurting them. And why is it that the autistic person has to suffer in silence? Because they have strong enough emotional maturity to understand that these people are just not mature enough to admit their faults and their mistakes. But why should the autistic person have to suffer because of someone else's lack of emotional maturity? It's not fair. And yes, we understand life is not fair, but life is surely not fair to autistic people. And if life is not going to be fair to autistic people, then allistics need to understand and feel exactly what it feels like for life to not be fair to them. Because how are they going to learn? I'll give you a prime example of something that happened when I was in college dealing with my sorority chapter. So in order for you to be involved in any type of sorority chapter activities, you have to be financial. You have to pay your dues. So that fall semester, I paid all of my dues. I was an active member, so I was able to participate in anything that the sorority had. But throughout that semester, I went inactive with the chapter because of personal things that were going on. But I was still financial. And by me being financial, that over trumps everything. If you got the money to pay for it and you paid it, nothing else matters as long as you paid that money. So there was a moment where we were having a sorority meeting or sorority event with my chapter. We were inducting the new girls that were coming in. There's a whole induction ceremony. And what happened is I was supposed to be there because I had a pledge daughter that was also going to be inducted, and I wanted to be there. Now, at first, I had said that I was going through a lot and how I was not going to show up. But then later on the day of, I changed my mind and I come and I present myself. So what happened at the chapter meeting is that there were higher ups of the sorority that were present at this sorority event, okay, at this induction. And because of the chapter knowing that they had done things wrong that they weren't supposed to do, they were afraid of getting in even more trouble. So what happened is, when I arrived at the induction, I was told by the chapter president at the time, Renijah Turner, that I need to leave. Now, the way that she handled this is she did not explain to me, as the president, she did not do her due diligence and be very transparent when she should have been. The proper way that she should have handled that as the chapter president, Renijah Turner, was to explain, hey, there's things that are going on. This person is here. We kind of got in trouble and I don't want any more mess. And I really feel like it's best for you to not be here right now because I'm afraid. Or she could have done another thing where it's like, well, let's just see if when they come back, if you are allowed to be here, and if you're allowed, then you can. But if not, then I'm sorry, then you will unfortunately have to go. That did not happen. What she did is she basically told me, as soon as I walked in the door, she said, Terry, you're not supposed to be here. You need to leave. I need you to leave. And I'm asking her, I'm saying, okay, well, why do I have to leave? And she's, well, because you're inactive. That's why you have to leave. I'm like, but I'm financial. I could be here. And I'm like, well, how can those other two members that are also inactive with the chapter, how are they allowed to be here, but I'm not? And she basically makes up this lie and goes, oh, but they're a part of the graduate chapter when they're undergrads. So that doesn't make any sense. That's where they're allowed to be here, but you can't be here. You have to leave. You need to leave. You need to leave. You need to leave. And I was like, okay, I can leave, but I don't need you to be fussing at me like that and trying to kick me out of this damn place. And then she's, well, I told you you came here anyway. That's disrespectful. And then she walks out. So then what happens is I phoned one of our advisors and I called her up and I told her what had happened. And she said, no, don't leave. Don't go back home. Stay there. I'm on my way there. Here we come. So the advisor came back with the other sorority members that are a part of the higher ups that were also there. And when they came to the meeting, the induction, I, of course, had left. I had went back home. And then when they came and asked the president, Renijah Turner, what happened, she explained what had happened. And that's when the advisors and even the other higher ups that she was so afraid of told her, they're like, no, she is financial. So she is allowed to be here because if she's financial, that triumphs over everything. And she is a chapter member. You were wrong for telling her that she had to leave. You did not do the right thing. You weren't supposed to do that. That was wrong of you. You did not have to do that. And basically was telling her that Renijah was wrong and how she shouldn't have done that. And like that was an abuse of her power. So because Renijah could not take responsibility for her own actions, she goes, oh, well, you know what? She was giving me attitude and she was fussing at me and she was yelling at me or whatever, making up some insane bullshit lie because she just couldn't fathom the fact that she did something wrong and she was called out for it. And she couldn't even stand. She wasn't woman enough to stand on what she had just did. So instead of taking the accountability, she deflects and blames it on me, the way that they always do. And me being autistic plays a huge role in this because when it comes to conflict and conversation, that's something that is very difficult for me to navigate, especially when there's moments of tension. So when this was happening, I was unsure on how to handle it in the moment, on how to fix it. But once again, my autism was taken advantage of. And when people witness an autistic person being mistreated and being taken advantage of, a lot of people tend to bypass it. They tend to gloss over it. They tend to sweep it under the rug because they think, oh, that person's autistic. They can handle it. They're less than human. They can take that, when it's not right, because regardless if we are autistic or not, we are still human beings with feelings, with emotions, and we are human at the end of the day. And no one deserves to be treated that way. No one deserves to be mistreated. And this happens a lot with autistic people where they are getting the short end of the stick. They are being forced to do something beyond their, like, out of their free will. They are taken advantage of. They are the ones that's exploited. They are the ones that people just walk all over. But when that autistic person finally stands up and calls this out and goes, no, this person did this to me, this person did that, a lot of times you're not going to get an honest answer from the perpetrator. They're going to lie because they want to protect themselves. But if they have to lie to protect themselves, because after they know they've done something wrong, then that shows a lot that these people know exactly what they're doing. They know that they are doing something wrong. They just don't want to be called out for it. They don't want to be reprimanded. They hate when they get caught. They don't care about hurting the autistic's feelings. They care about being caught.